Project Grayburn will decide the British Army's next rifle, and the argument everyone's having about it, HK's 416 or 433, SIG's MCX, Beretta's NARP, Seiko's M23, FN's ARCA, starts in the wrong place. The rifle is the part you can photograph. The decision that actually matters is quieter. It's the cartridge. Whether Britain keeps 5.56, the round NATO has built its infantry around since the Cold War, or becomes one of the first major European armies to walk away from it. Whatever enters UK service from 2028 inherits its magazine, its recoil, its combat load and its effective range from a caliber choice DE&S has so far refused to put in writing. That decision is the one that shapes the section, and to see where Britain is likely to land, look at two programs across the Atlantic that took one problem and answered it in opposite directions. Start with why 5.56 is under question at all. The Grayburn requirement, as issued, asks for a weapon that can defeat current and emerging body armour. That single line does most of the work. The threat behind it is concrete. Modern ceramic rifle plates that blunt what legacy 5.56 can do at range. The same body armour driving both American programs. Against armour like that, at range, standard 5.56 has a lethality problem. Terminal performance falls off with velocity, and velocity falls off with distance. That isn't controversial, it's a conclusion that Americans reached years ago. What's notable about the Grayburn paperwork is what it doesn't say. DE&S has not specified a caliber, it has described the effect it wants, armour defeat, and left the cartridge open. That's deliberate, and it's a space every bidder is now trying to fill. The first American answer is the one everyone knows, the next generation squad weapon. The Army's method was threat first, define the armour you need to defeat, work backwards to the projectile, then build the platform around it. That process led them away from 5.56 entirely to a new cartridge, 6.8 by 51mm, the Common Cartridge, firing from the M7 rifle and the M250 automatic rifle. Both were type classified in 2025, and the M7 has been fielding to close combat units since 2024. A shorter, lighter carbine, the XM8, followed in 2026, and the Army has since shifted production priority to it, buying no new M7 rifles this fiscal year as it moves the close combat force into the lighter weapon. It's the clean sheet answer, new round, new weapon, measurable overmatch against armour at range, but the overmatch comes with a bill, and it arrives in three parts. The first is ammunition. As first fielded, the M7 fed from 20 round magazines against the M4's 30, a 7 magazine load of 140 rounds against 210, a third fewer. The second is weight, and it cuts the wrong way. Because the 6.8 round is heavier, the soldier carries that smaller load at greater weight, not less, roughly 4 pounds more, for 70 fewer rounds, with a recoil climbing towards a 7.62 rifle rather than a 5.56. The third is logistics. The cartridge sits outside the NATO chain every ally is built around, and it runs several dollars around, many times the cost of standard 5.56. The Army has since moved to soften the first two. The XM8 adopts 25 round magazines and trims length and weight back towards an M4, but the heavier round and the break from the NATO logistic chain don't go away, and the shift to a shorter, lighter carbine is itself a quiet admission that the weight and handling were real costs, not marginal ones. The Army decided the overmatch was worth all of it, a deliberate trade, not a free lunch, and one both the Marine Corps and the US Special Operations Command declined to follow. American special operators looked at exactly the same battlefield, the same armour, the same ranges, and reached almost the opposite conclusion. One problem, a second answer, and the one that matters more for Grayburn. In May 2026, US Special Operations Command, through Naval Surface Warfare Center Crane, put out a solicitation for a program called HICAR. It's worth being precise about the name because the trade press isn't. The requirement documents render it as the hypervelocity improved capability assault rifle, not an Army program, a SOCOM one, and a deliberately different philosophy. HICAR takes the same problem, 5.56 running out of steam past 300 meters, and refuses to change cartridge to solve it. Instead, it retains the 5.56 by 45mm footprint and raises the pressure. The program is built around a hyper-velocity loading, designated M855A1+, running at roughly 82,000 psi against the roughly 62,000 of standard M855A1. One point of terminology because it gets blurred. HICAR is the program, the weapon, more precisely the upper receiver. M855A1+ is the ammunition. The rifle is chambered in high pressure 5.56, not in HICAR. The stated aim is to push practical effective range from around 300 meters out to 600 and beyond with better armor penetration, using an upper receiver that still bolts onto an existing M4 lower, still feeds from standard magazines, and still fires legacy 5.56 when that's what's in the pouch. Taken together, that's an interoperability manifesto. Keep the magazines, keep the lower, keep NATO ammunition compatibility, keep the compact handling, buy the range and the armor defeat through velocity, not through a new logistics chain. As of now, this is still a wish list. White papers in, vendors invited, live fire pitch day still ahead, nothing selected and nothing fielded. But the intent is unambiguous. SOCOM looked at 6.8 and decided it didn't want the weight, the round count, or the break from allies. There's just one problem with the SOCOM idea. Pressure destroys barrels. Run 5.56 at 82,000 psi through a short barrel and you accelerate the same wear problem already dogging the Army's own new rifle. So the hard question isn't whether high pressure 5.56 is desirable, it's whether you can build a barrel that survives it long enough to matter. The enabling technology is arriving, if unevenly. Days after HICAR solicitation, an American barrel maker unveiled a progressive twist rifling system grown out of cannon barrel work for the military, designed specifically for the 80,000 psi class of ammunition, with claimed gains in barrel life. On the metallurgy side, makers have reached for high purity French barrel steels from the same lineage that gives the HK416 its long barrel life, refined alloys rather than miracle ones, expensive and difficult to machine. The direction is visible, the maturity is less certain, the new rifling systems are only just appearing, the metallurgy is still evolving, and the programs pushing hardest into this pressure regime remain developmental rather than fielded. SOCOM's own lethality lead has described the hypervelocity round as still a significant science project with nothing yet fielded. What matters for Britain, because a program that runs from 2028 isn't buying today's barrel technology, is buying whatever this maturing effort has become by the time contracts are signed. Now put Britain between those two poles. On paper, almost every political and logistical consideration pushes Britain towards staying with 5.56. When the Calibre question has been raised in Parliament, interoperability with allies is named explicitly as a factor. The European picture reinforces it. France, Sweden and Italy have all stayed inside the existing NATO calibers. And Finland, newly inside NATO, is going further still, replacing its Soviet Calibre 7.62 by 39 rifles with 5.56 specifically, to standardise with the alliance, at the very moment the US Army walks away from it. And that switch runs through a familiar name. The 5.56 rifle Finland is now trialling comes from SOCOM's ARG family, the same lineage as the SOCOM M23 already sitting in Grayburn's own contender field. The rest of that field points the same way. The HK416, the HK433, the MCX and Beretta's NARP, all 5.56 by native design. The multi-caliber options, the M23 among them, offer a change by barrel swap, not as a starting point. But one sentence keeps dragging the discussion back the other way: defeat current and emerging body armor. Taken at face value, that requirement is hard to satisfy with legacy 5.56, which is why 6.5 Creedmoor and 6.8 keep appearing in the commentary, and why nobody can call the Calibre question settled. Here's the analytical read, and it's the reason the HICAR framing matters. The likeliest outcome isn't that Britain abandons 5.56, it's that Britain does what SOCOM is trying to do: retain the Calibre for interoperability and cost, and buy the missing capability for a high performance 5.56 loading rather than a new cartridge. You keep the NATO logistics chain, you keep the round count, you keep allied compatibility, and you close the armour gap with pressure and projectile design instead of with mass. Two things make the road more attractive than it first looks. The first is cost, and it runs straight into training. High pressure 5.56 stays inside a mature high volume ammunition base. The 6.8 Common Cartridge uses an expensive steel and brass hybrid case and a far smaller production run. Across a fleet of roughly 170,000, cheaper ammunition isn't a footnote, it's the difference in how much live firing a soldier actually gets year on year. The second is honesty about what the road delivers. A high pressure 5.56 narrows the armour and range gap, it does not reach 6.8 levels of terminal performance. That's the real shape of the trade, a partial answer to the body armour requirement, bought cheaply and without breaking from allies, rather than the full answer bought at the Army's price in weight, cost and logistics. The hedge on top of that is modularity. Several Grayburn platforms are built around a common lower and can, in principle, take a different caliber later by changing a barrel and the bolt. That lets the MOD commit to 5.56 now and keep a 6.8 or 6.5 door open for a midlife decision without betting a buy of roughly 170,000 rifles on a cartridge that isn't yet a NATO standard. That's a coherent position. It isn't the only one. If the armour requirement is read strictly, it points harder at a caliber change than this analysis assumes, and that tension is worth holding onto rather than resolving early. The rifle contest gets the attention, the cartridge decision sets the terms every platform then has to live inside. 2 American programs have already drawn the map. The Army bought Overmatch and paid for it in weight and logistics. SOCOM is trying to keep the logistics and buy the Overmatch anyway. Britain's requirement pulls towards the second road. Whether the paperwork ultimately lets it stay there is the question Grayburn hasn't yet answered. And that may be the real difference between the two armies. The US Army was willing to rebuild its close combat small arms ecosystem around a new cartridge. Britain may decide that the ecosystem itself, the ammunition, the logistics, the interoperability with every ally, is the capability worth protecting.